What is the best way to speak to clients on the phone so you can actually close deals? Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and this is a really special video. I've been waiting and excited to make this one because I've been getting a ton of questions about, hey, what happens if I get rejected on the phone? What happens if this objection comes up? What happens if people say it's a scam? All these different things. And so I wanted to make a video where I talk in depth with some of the main principles and components we use when we're talking to people on the phone, because I think that'll help a ton of you guys out. So make sure you stay to the end of this video, because you don't want to be on the phone not knowing these things and like not knowing what to say. But before I jump into it, make sure again you guys like this video, and of course hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because once per month we do a little live stream and we actually give out some free mini courses for service phones that we normally charge for. Now if you want to get notified when that live stream comes on, so you can potentially be one of the couple people that wins it on that stream, you want to get notified. So before I jump into it, I want to start by saying this. There's kind of this common phrase in the marketing and sales industries that some of you may have heard before. And it basically says that, hey, your actual, like what you're saying, the actual words that are coming out of your mouth, they only account for like 9% of the overall message that you're conveying. Which seems a little bit crazy. Most people think it's 100%. But what matters a lot more is your tonality, is your body language, is your ability to convey certainty, is all these other factors that a lot of people don't even know. And so because those things matter so much, I'm going to be talking about a lot of that in this video. And one of the things that I do to really make sure I have a lot of certainty is I have a little pre-call routine that I do. So before I get on any sales calls, or before I get into any mode where I'm going to be making a lot of sales calls, I will do this routine. And what this routine looks like, it's really simple. It's about 5 minutes. So the first thing I'll do is I'll sit in my chair. I'll sit in good posture, okay? And I will take deep breaths. Right, so you're in 3 seconds, out 4 seconds, right? You kind of, right, you're doing that, okay? And I'll usually do about 10 to 15 breaths. Then what I'll do is I'll throw on my headphones, my headset, and I'll put on one of my favorite songs. For me, you guys know I'm a big Drake fan, so I'll throw on some Drake. Not like some love Drake, but like some rap Drake, okay? Where we're getting hyped up, okay? I'll put on something, and I'll start kind of visualizing, okay, some goals and aspirations that I have personally. And while I'm doing that, I'm putting myself in a state of certainty. So I'm thinking like these things have already happened in my head, even though they technically in the real world, they haven't happened. And while I'm doing that too, one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins is that everybody has a certain move or a certain action that they do when they're in a place of certainty, of extreme certainty, of extreme, almost like a victory state. And if you think to some of you guys that have played sports, for me obviously it was basketball, but everybody in sports, like if you hit a buzzer beater, you hit a home run as like a game-winning home run, a walk-off home run, right? Everyone has like that move that they do. So maybe for some people, it's like they hold their hands up, right? For some people, for me, it's like this, right? You kind of do like a little fist pump, okay? But everyone's got their own thing. And so what I'll do is I'll put on the music, I'll visualize all these things, and I'll just knock out a couple of those, okay? And it just gets my blood going, and it puts me in a state of absolute certainty. So when I get on the call, guess what? People can sense that. People can hear that in your voice. And they can hear that, oh, this guy, he's not playing games. Like, he's here to help me. He's here to help us, right? And he's the expert. And that's what you want. When people listen to you, you want them to think, hey, this guy, he's an expert, or this girl is an expert, and we're not playing around here. So that's what I do, kind of pre-call routine. I won't do that every call. Like I said, if I have a batch where I'm doing 100 calls, I'll just do it at the very beginning. But just something to keep in mind. You don't have to do the exact same thing, but you should have some routine. You're doing 5-10 minutes every single morning or whenever you start calls to kind of get yourself going. So another question I get is like, how do you handle rejection? And how do you handle people that hang up on you or curse you out or something like that? And I actually want to tell kind of a funny story. So when I was younger, I was 16, I started making cold calls for real estate. And my literal cold call career started calling probates. And if you don't know what probates are, probate is a process basically when someone passes away, there's this court process called probate where their assets go through the court and then they get distributed to the rightful heirs. And so what I would do is I would call the rightful heirs that just had a relative that went through probate, and I would ask if I could buy their house. So it was not the easiest environment. You can imagine people very emotional, you know, they've got to deal with all these things in the court, and you know, it was a little bit ridiculous, okay? Plus I didn't have any experience, so it was not good. But I think it was like my 20th or 25th call. Like, it was pretty early, like when I first started making the cold calls. I get on there, and this older gentleman answers. And you know, most of the people you talk to in that instance are kids. You know, when I say kids, I don't mean like little kids, but they're children of parents that had passed away. So they can be 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, but they're not old men or old women. And so I was talking to this guy, and he was definitely an older man. And so my guess, you know, we never got to the point where I was asking him in-depth questions. It was a pretty short conversation. But I go on there and say, hey, is this so-and-so? He says, what? And I say, hey, is this, you know, I read his name again. Who? Hey, is this? And literally, it's just like 2 minutes of like, hey, is this da-da-da? And he's like, he can't hear me, right? So finally, after 2 minutes of that, he finally listens to me. He's like, oh yeah, this is him. What do you want, right? And I'm like, hey man, I was just, you know, calling about so-and-so. I was, you know, wanted to see if you're interested in, you know, or what you were going to do with the property. I'm sorry for your loss. And he cuts me off, and he just starts cursing me out. He says, you mother get the off my phone. I can't even believe this. And he just goes on like this 3-minute just F rant. Just literally every 5 seconds was just another F word, okay? And I'm just sitting there just politely listening, right? And you gotta think in mind, I'm 16 years old. You know, this is like my first or second day making cold calls. Like, I don't know what the heck, right? And this guy goes on and on and on, and then just, you know, hangs up the phone, right? And I remember, like, I didn't really know how to react to that. I was like, oh. And so I kind of just stopped doing cold calls for the rest of the day. And it just so happened later that week, I was going to a real estate club. And I walk in the real estate club, and I'm telling everybody what happened. And some guy went up in front of the room and told the story. And then everybody cheered me on and said, hey, great job, Spencer. Like, he did a good job, da-da-da. Like, he got through it. Like, it's all good. And it kind of reminds me of that scene a little bit in Goodfellas, where Henry Hill, he gets arrested when he's a kid, or gets in trouble when he's a kid, but he doesn't snitch on any of his, you know, any of his guys. And he walks out, and all the mob guys are like, good job, you know. Kind of reminded me of that, so obviously I was just cold calling. But my point in saying this is that you want to celebrate these things. I know it seems a little bit silly, but you want to celebrate your rejections, your hang-ups, when people curse you out. You want to celebrate that. And the reason why you want to celebrate it is because that means you are one call closer to a deal. You are one call closer to getting your first paycheck, or getting your second paycheck, or your next deal, or whatever it is, or helping the next person. You're one call closer to helping the next person. And so even though in the moment it's like, oh, this is a little bit painful, at some point, you know, you got to say, hey, you know what? I'm in this business to help people, and I can only help people that swim towards me. You know, I can't help people that swim away. If I'm coming in, I listened to a story, I'm not going to tell the whole story because we don't have time, but where the Coast Guard, if they're, you know, flying a helicopter and trying to save people from a sinking ship, you know who they'll help save? If they have a group of 12 people in the water and they can only fit 10 or 11 of them, right? They'll save the people that are swimming towards the helicopter. That's who they'll save. People that are not swimming towards the helicopter, they can't save you, okay? So my point is you can't help everybody. And so people that curse you out or reject you or hang up on you, you can't help those people. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's their problem. They'll deal with it, whatever it is. But you want to help the people that swim towards you. And that's the beauty of this business, that you're able to do that. All right, so another question I get all the time with surplus funds and making cold calls is, well, Spencer, you know, what if I don't have any references? Or what if I don't have a website? Or what if the client asks me if this is a scam? Or what if the client just doesn't trust me? And really, all of those questions can be summarized by rephrasing the question to one question, which instead of saying what if, right? What if, okay? Because when you say what if, you're putting the blame on the client, right? Subconsciously, you're saying, oh, the client, well, what if the client doesn't trust me? Well, what if the client doesn't trust you, right? What are you gonna do about it, right? So instead of saying all that, I like to rephrase the question and say, how can you build credibility so that the client will trust you, right? That's the question. How can I build credibility? That's the question. How can Spencer Vann, how can whatever your name is, build credibility on the phone so that the client will trust me and want to work with me? That's the answer to the question, and I'm about to explain that. So on any cold call, there's 3 beliefs that you need to build in order to build credibility, okay? The first is they need to believe in you as the salesperson or as the person on the other side of the phone. They need to believe that what you're saying is true. Number 2 is they need to believe in your company. Now the good thing with surplus funds is, you know, really, you know, as far as believing your company, you know, most of you guys are not working for some big company. You're working for yourself. And here's the thing, even if you're working for a big surplus fund company, no one's ever heard of these companies, so it doesn't even matter, right? But the thing is that really, if they believe in you and if you represent yourself, then they believe in your company. So that's kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. But the last thing they need to believe in, where you're going to spend most of your time selling them on, is surplus funds itself, is the product itself, or in this case, the service of you helping them recover it, right? So really, you need to form 2 strong beliefs in your client. Number 1 is the belief in you and the other person on the phone. And number 2 is the belief in that surplus funds are real, that how this process works, all of that. And the question is, how do you do that? How do you actually build belief in those 2 things? Because if you can do that, you won't need a website, you won't need references, and quite frankly, you won't really be asking, hey, what if people think it's a scam? Because they won't be, because you'll be building these 2 beliefs. And the simple answer to that question is a couple things. Number 1 is, get to the point. Okay, listen to some of you guys' calls, and like you guys talk about like the weather and the recent NBA game, and it's just like, what are we talking about? And a lot of you guys are trying to build that rapport, and you're trying to build the rapport with someone, but here's the thing, you're not building a friend, okay? You're not on the phone to be friends with somebody. That's the equivalent of going to the doctor's office and having, you're walking with a broken arm, and the guy says, oh, so do you like playing basketball? You're just like, what? Like, fix my arm. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, so I mean, what are your grades in school? It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Just fix my arm. Like, I have a broken arm, please, I'm in pain, right? We need to get to the point, right? So that's number 1, is get to the point. Number 2 is your tonality. So your ability to convey confidence over the phone, your ability to, like I said, get in that state of certainty. So that someone that's listening to you on the other side of the phone says, wow, this guy or this girl has their stuff together, they're legit, they're not playing around, and at the end of the day, they're here to, help me, and they're here to guide me. They're not here to waste my time. And then the last thing is really to ask great questions. The best experts in the world, they don't tell you the answers. What they do is they ask you questions so that you come up with the answer yourself, right? That's really the secret. So if we're talking on the phone and I say, hey man, did you know about this property, da-da-da? Okay, cool. And then you explain what surplus is, because you can't, they're not going to figure that out on their own. So you got to explain that a little bit. And then what you do is you say, oh yeah, so is this something you'd be interested in recovering? Oh yeah, I might be. Okay, cool. I mean, what would that mean to you financially? I mean, are you working full time right now? Oh yeah, actually I am working full time right now. Oh, awesome. Has that been impacted by this illness that's going on? I can't say the actual word because I might get yelled at by YouTube. But it's going on by this pandemic that's going on. Oh yeah, it's been really affected by the pandemic because I haven't been able to get out. I'm a door-to-door salesman. I haven't been able to do that. So I've really been on unemployment. And I said, okay, cool. So if you had an extra $20,000, I mean, would that mean a lot to you given the drop in impact that you've seen from the pandemic? Oh yeah, that would mean a lot to me. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, just out of curiosity, like, what exactly would that mean for you? Like, would you be okay? Would you be able to get out of debt? Would you be, right? And so now I'm building them belief in this, like, oh wow, like I need this surplus fund to come in. And then when I pitch them on it and I say, hey, listen, I want to work together with you. I charge 25%, nothing out of pocket to you. It'll take you literally an hour worth of time. We'll just get on a Zoom call, fill out some paperwork, we'll send it in, and you'll get a check in, hopefully pretty soon. Okay, yeah, awesome. Let's move forward with that, right? Versus just trying to pitch them right away. You haven't really sold them on the process emotionally yet. Okay? So again, stay on topic, be the expert, be confident, and ask great questions. Those are some of the keys to really doing well on the phone. All right, guys, so this video went way longer than I expected, and honestly, I'm only like halfway through the content that I originally planned for this video. So what we're gonna do is, next Tuesday, I'm gonna drop part 2 of this little sales call, cold call series for surplus funds. So if you guys enjoyed this, drop a like down below, leave a comment, let me know if you wanna see part 2, if this was helpful. If we get enough comments, then we'll drop it. And of course, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that if we do drop part 2, you'll be able to see that and use that in your business. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.